Hi everyone, if you really want to take your Webflow development skills to the next level, you should learn how to implement reverse proxy. It would allow you to add limitless functionality and it would give you more control over your website or web application. Let me list just a few things you can do with this. Overcome Webflow static page limit, overcome Webflow CMS items limit, introduce advanced filtering, use URL structures not supported by Webflow, additional security with web application firewall, use multiple platforms, apps or CMS within one domain. So for example, with a reverse proxy you can have Webflow and WordPress on the same domain without users noticing any difference. Next, server-side rendering for SEO important content. Often in Webflow you need to load some external content using JavaScript, and that content is not readable by search engines. This can be solved with the reverse proxy. I think you can already see how beneficial integrating reverse proxy could be. Therefore, let me explain how reverse proxy works. Let's say your client wants a web app like Airbnb. Obviously, you won't be able to achieve such complicated functionality using just Webflow. But if you introduce Xano as a backend, you have a full no-code stack that can handle things like property listing, storing images, user accounts, bookings, filtering, reviews, payments, etc. If you don't know what Xano is, check one of my previous videos, but in short, it's a no-code backend where you can create a database and programming logic without writing actual code like you would traditionally in Node.js or PHP. However, there is one catch. All of your data, listings, images, reviews, users, booking dates, categories, etc. lives in Xano. And to show that content on your Webflow website, you need to pull it using JavaScript or a no-code tool like Vizd. This approach is called client-side rendering because the content loads on a user's browser after the page is first shown. That's no issue to regular visitors, as they will see a short loading delay and that's it. But search engines and other important internet bots often can't read content that's added this way. As a result, your dynamic content won't be indexed by Google or appear in search results. That's obviously a huge problem for an app such as Airbnb. The solution to this is to use something called a reverseproxyserver. It fetches your data from Xano before the page is sent to the user. That way the content is baked into the page from the start, and search engines can see it right away. This helps your website's pages and content to get properly indexed and appear in search results. This way the page is fully populated with content from the backend before it reaches the browser. Search engines can then read everything without any extra steps. Now this is the opposite of client-side rendering and it's called server-side rendering. Let's go over some other benefits this approach provides. First, we can store all our pages, CMS collections, CMS items into Xano database, and therefore we can overcome the limit that Webflow has. For example, they have in this plan, they have 150 pages. You can overcome that using Xano database. You just create single template in Webflow and then just populate it with data from Xano. So that's basically limitless CMS. And when reverse proxy is implemented, all that is accessible by search engines and other bots. Then we can create custom URL structures that are not supported in Webflow, such as this. For example, in Webflow you can have just one folder before the CMS item slug. But maybe you need something like this where it has resources, then webinars, then year, then slug. Also, this allows us to set up better security, so we can integrate our own web application firewall. We can configure which countries can access our website. We can block IP addresses, we can create our own DDoS protection. We can basically fully monitor any threats that are coming to our website. Another very good thing about using reverse proxy server is the ability to have multiple Webflow websites on the same domain name. But not only that, you can actually have different platforms or CMS platforms on the same domain name. For example, as you can see here, first two pages are Webflow, so homepage and about page are Webflow. Then we have blog and single blog template, which are WordPress. Then we have user login, register, and dashboard, which are in Drupal. This is just an example. This is not how we built it in reality, but this is what you could do. There are companies that have their websites or web applications built in Drupal, WordPress, Laravel, or some traditional technology, and that makes it hard for marketing teams to create new pages for various campaigns and whatever other marketing efforts involving the website. So you can leave the current application or the website to exist within the current platform and just add Webflow on top of that. And using reverse proxies, you can make it seamless for end users. And the best way to implement this is actually to use Cloudflare workers, because there you have all the protection that you need, everything is prepared for you. Still you need to know some coding, so that will allow you to control the proxy server. But anyway, it's much more easier than, for example, creating your custom reverse proxy server, which requires a lot of technical knowledge. There are a few others that provide reverse proxy services, but I think Cloudflare workers is the best. It's pretty easy to set up and run. And that's it. Thank you for watching and see you in the next.